Welcome back. So in our last dive into this story, we saw the only truly happy years Arthur Schopenhauer ever knew. This brief 2-year window of friendship and genuine care. And at the exact same time, we saw Philip's arrival in Julius's therapy group, an arrival that just sent shockwaves through the room, as his cold philosophical logic crashed right into the raw, messy emotions of real people.
And it's fitting that we start with a thought from Schopenhauer himself. He saw childhood as this lost paradise, a time of pure potential before the weight of the past comes crashing down. But for young Arthur, this so-called paradise wasn't found at home. No, for him it was found in exile.
I mean, think about this. At just 9 years old, Arthur's father sends him away to France to live with a business associate. For most kids, that would be completely devastating. But for Arthur, it was the exact opposite. He would later say, without a doubt, that these 2 years were the happiest of his entire life. Kind of tells you everything you need to know about his home life, doesn't it?
See, in France, with the Blesimaire family, Arthur got something he was starving for. Real, nurturing affection. The love from his own parents always seemed to have a price tag. Just look at this line from a letter his mother sent him. It's not, "we miss you," it's, "remember your father let you buy something?" It was always a transaction. With the Blesimaires, it was real.
And it's there he also found Anthony, the family's son, who became one of the only real friends Arthur would ever have in his entire life. But look at this timeline. It's just heartbreaking. You see this intense childhood bond, this little flicker of adventure when they're 20, and then it just evaporates. It turns into cold letters about money, and then finally, this awkward meeting where two old friends have become total strangers. And this right here, this is the nail in the coffin. After that cold financial exchange with Anthony, Arthur scribbled this quote from the philosopher Gratian in the back of the envelope. It's so cynical. Basically, use people to get what you want. This is the moment that youthful trust curdled into the deep-seated suspicion that would define the rest of his life. And it is that exact cynicism, fully formed and weaponized, that now walks into Julius's therapy group. This is Philip. He shows up early, but does he say hello? Does he try to connect? Nope. He literally turns his back on everyone and just starts inspecting the books on the shelf. It is an act of such profound, almost aggressive, indifference.
So of course, Julius is watching this and immediately having second thoughts. He's wondering, was bringing Philip in here a good idea, or was this just my chutzpah acting up again? And you gotta love this definition, chutzpah, the nerve of the boy who kills his parents, then asks the court for mercy because he's an orphan. That's the kind of audacity Julius prides himself on, and now he's terrified it's about to blow up in his face.
But before Julius can even figure out what to do with Philip, the whole session gets hijacked. A crisis erupts. A group member named Gil, this big guy who looks like he used to play football, speaks up, and his voice is just fragile. The whole mood in the room shifts, instantly.
And Gil just unloads his story. His wife, Rose, has become convinced that her father abused her years ago. She sets up this incredibly tense confrontation, and Gil finds himself in the car with both of them. Rose looks at him and draws a line in the sand. It's me or him. And in that moment, Gil makes a choice. He says, "Be my guest."
Rose storms out of the car, and Gil is left totally alone. He spends the next 5 hours just wandering through Golden Gate Park in the rain, watching the city lights blur. He shows up to the group, completely shattered, basically saying his marriage might be over, like right now.
Well, the group's reaction is immediate. They're all cheering him on. "Way to go, Gil! About time you stood up for yourself." But Julius, the therapist, he pumps the brakes. He refuses to give Gil a pat on the back. He tells him, "Look, this isn't about getting our approval. It's about you learning to trust your own decisions, not just trading your wife's voice for ours."
So after everyone has had their say, the room goes quiet, and all eyes slowly turn to the new guy, the silent philosopher who's been staring at the ceiling this whole time. The question just hangs there. Okay, Mr. Schopenhauer, what do you have to say about all this human mess? And Philip, without even looking at Gil, gives his diagnosis. And it's not emotional at all, it's pure philosophy. He says Gil's wife is terminally trapped by her past. She's so weighed down by the freight of what happened before that she literally can't live in the present moment, a prisoner of her own memories. So what's his advice? Well, it is as shocking as it is simple. He looks at Gil and says, "Your wife is a sinking ship. She's going down. The only rational thing to do is to jump overboard and swim for your life. Swim away as fast as you can and don't you dare look back."
And if that wasn't enough, he then drops this concept from another philosopher, Kierkegaard, called double despair. He tells Gil that he's so wrapped up in his wife's suffering that he doesn't even realize he's in despair himself. It's like being asleep in a house that's on fire. You're in deep, deep trouble, and you don't even know it.
Okay, so here's the crazy part. What do you think the group's reaction is? Anger? Outrage? Not a chance. The vast majority of them are completely fascinated. They're leaning in, totally captivated by the absolute brutal honesty of what Philip is saying. Gil, the man at the center of it all, is the most stunned. He says, "Wow, that's deep. I know there's something important in what you're saying." And then you see it spread. Rebecca wants him to explain more. Tony immediately applies the sinking ship idea to his own life. The entire group is suddenly hanging on every single word coming out of Philip's mouth.
All while Julius just sits there, watching in total amazement. Part of him is competitive, sure, but he also knows something powerful, and maybe a little dangerous, is happening. He came into this session ready to tell the group about his own terminal cancer diagnosis, but that's out the window now. The group has a new focal point. The session belongs to Philip.
And this just perfectly sets up the central conflict, doesn't it? You have all these people drowning in their messy emotions, and they are desperately grabbing onto this cold, hard philosophy as a life raft. But the big question is this a real tool for freedom, or is it just a very well-argued blueprint for a life of profound loneliness? Like